So in this meeting, this one is going to be facilitated by Simone Musida and Gustavo Vieira. And we're going to be discussing some of the chapters from 700 Conscientiology Experiments. So feel free to ask your questions. It's going to be an open forum, so you can speak at any time. You can make comments, ask questions. The whole purpose of this is to connect all of us as a study group and to discuss these topics, okay? This is part of the bridge. So the bridge, we have the bridge cultures, the bridge El Puente, the bridge book club, and the bridge writers. And all of them have the aim of connecting self-researchers, intermissivists, pre-intermissivists, anybody who is interested in self-evolution, self-research, okay? So welcome everybody, and please feel free to speak up.
Yes. Okay, so guys, well, first of all, I would like to thank Magali, who sent me an invitation, direct invitation to participate in this debate, and for Isaac, all the volunteers of Isaac for the initiative of creating this. I know we had the bridge before, but I think this book discussion is a really good initiative. And to Jeff, because he translated the book. So I remember when that was happening, and we can, you know, it was a great contribution, otherwise we wouldn't be here, right, having this discussion. So I think we can, my understanding, what I would like to suggest is like what Michiko said, was to have a horizontal discussion, jump in anytime, you know, I'll step back, and we're gonna have this like as a horizontal discussion so we can all participate and share our ideas. We are researchers here, right? It's not, that's the idea of the discussion. So there's so many things to talk about about the chapters, about, you know, how we relate that to the current time and what we experience and at different levels. And I think it's impossible for us to talk about anything today without talking about what is happening. And I was just talking to Michiko, and I think we don't have to, it's up to you guys. We can or we cannot, but I do think that we are living, and I think like everything, this book can be, reading this book, as David mentioned, like in the last discussion, if you have not seen it, I invite you, and I suggested you watch, because it was a really interesting discussion, both for the discussions that we had before. But I do think that this book is like, it's a manual. I'm quoting David, it's a manual to a homeostatic life. And sometimes we forget that. I read this book many, many years ago, more than 10 years ago. And then you forget, because many times you just use for reference. But I do think that it not only is a guide, it creates some crisis, growing crisis, because you start reading it and you remember, and you face some questions or some tests that makes you think or rethink some aspects of our lives, and it promotes that kind of a small growing crisis. I think we are now today living a global growing crisis, right? With everything that is happening, and you know how we have to deal with all of this, how we are handling all of this. So there's so many aspects of it, and of course it's related to nothing better than to study that with the 700 experiments. Right? So I think I have a question here, one of the chapters that we were discussing, but before I move on, because otherwise I'll talk, guys. You probably noticed that I can just go on. I'll be just talking. If nobody talks, I'll talk for the entire 2 hours if we stay for one time. But anyways, I would like to first to see if anybody has any comments, any questions, anything that called your attention while reading the chapters, or anything pretty much that you'd like to discuss before I move on. No? Nobody would like to? Well, so I have a few.
I think, oh, sorry.
Michiko, yeah.
Sorry, Simone. I think Gustavo was trying to say something, but he maybe, his audio is not working.
Oh.
We can't hear you,
I didn't
Gustavo.
see him join. I don't even see. I saw that you introduced him, but I couldn't see him.
Yeah.
I thought he was having difficulty connecting. No, you were, né? Gustavo, he's here.
Yeah, but we can't hear him, no.
That's okay. So if anybody's having...
just a comment, I think, just a comment, no, just to see if everybody is on the gallery mode instead of speaker view, because probably Simone, if she is on the computer, so she can better see everybody together if she goes to the upper right corner and then you click there and then you change the configuration of the screen.
I just did. Thank you so much.
All right. That's
now I see everybody. Gustavo, can you? So he can hear.
The other thing is, if you have any issues with your audio, just go to the left side of the bottom left side of your screen, and you click on the arrow next to the microphone and make sure it says select microphone and select speaker, and both have to be set to whatever you're using, whether you're using your headphones or your speakers.
Hello, everyone. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you, Magali.
It's having some problem with the...
You were having a problem, Gustavo, too?
I had a problem.
Are you both in phones?
Yes, but now it's okay. I was having a problem of internet, and I couldn't join. Yeah, I tried to join another one, but wasn't. I couldn't hear. I don't know why, and so I changed. But is everyone having this problem or just
I think just you guys. Let me see, there's a chat.
Okay. And people, it's already there?
Magali, try again.
Wow,
yes,
everyone, now I can see everyone. Hello.
I think she did. Thank you, Flavia.
Okay, so I will see if I can help Gustavo on chat. Do you want to continue, Simone?
Yes, I think we can. So anybody would like to make any comments? One of the things that for me, it's impossible for us not to relate to the current events. Not impossible, but I think it's a good opportunity for us. And I was reading one of the chapters, and then I read, lucid self-projectability is the exit from the labyrinth of compulsory seriaxis. And I thought to myself, yeah, compulsory seriaxis. What do you guys think about that? What is the labyrinth? What reminds you guys of?
A labyrinth, I suppose we could say, something that you can get lost in, you can lose your way in, you can go over the same route again and again, and you don't find the way out. So I guess he's referring to that kind of situation, where because we are reborn and we forget the vast majority of things we know, and so what do? We repeat, we do the things we've been accustomed to doing for n number of lives, and we don't necessarily advance particularly quickly, right? Seems to be the idea. So we sort of just go around in circles. Our more than perhaps is evolutionarily ideal, or from an own individual growth point of view, isn't great. So it's an interesting phrase, you know, makes us reflect in a number of ways.
Mm-hmm. Come on, guys, you're just shy.
I just put on the chat that self-mimicry. I think this is the term that we use in Conscientiology. So when you have the repetition, right, of the same thoughts, the same ideas, the same actions, and then you go, you know, over and over the same. So that's it, I believe. So then you lose your lucidity. So I mean, you don't have your lucidity to the point of changing. And then you go in terms of compulsory resomas as a way to, you know, in a way, waken us up. So in order to have better chances. That's it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
What comes to my mind when you say that, that image of the Tibetan Buddhists, and they have the thing that they keep moving, like spinning the circle of reincarnation, you know, the successive lives after life and so on. That the idea that came to my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good analogy of repeating it, right? Yeah. Just revolving around something, our habits of way of thinking, and repeating our paradigm, right? The paradigm that we live in, I think, has a lot to do with that, because once you start having projections, what happens? Oh, better saying self-lucid, or lucid projections. So the idea that we kind of break that way of thinking, that habit, that compulsory, right, of just doing the same thing over and over, not thinking, and then a crisis comes. Right? Inevitably, somehow, the crisis will come. I have had many in my life, so I know that for fact. I know that by experience. We talk so much about self-experience. That is and I think that's why I said about the global growing crisis. For some, I think will be the growing crisis. And we'll have to decide that, how we would like to handle that. But I think that's the idea of when we, when we have more lucidity and we can break the habits, or break that compulsory of Zephryus that we just repeat the same thing over and over and over, without having the bigger picture that the lucid projection brings to us, right? And then the paradigm shift, and then the having different vision about things that are happening. So right now, what is happening to us in a global level? How can we? I think Gustavo it's back. I can hear some. So I think that it's something that, the vision, it's what it takes for us to see things in the broader perspective and take more advantage of it. At least that's what I think, what I see happening in my life. The bigger my understanding of reality, the bigger the understanding of myself first, not others. I'm not interested in others. That's not conscientiology per se. It's part of it, but it's not per se. And then the broader picture of things, of how I relate, and etc. Gustavo, can you?
Yes, thank you.
He's back, yay! Yes.
Thank you very much.
So
now I'm using the telephone.
good.
Thank you very much. Sorry for arriving late. Hello everyone. My name is Gustavo. I think first I'd like to express my gratitude for those who organized this reading exercise and collective. I think it's a very useful evolutionary tool. And going back to this treatise, this big book, I think it's still surprising how the techniques of writing always puts you in a self-research mechanism. It never leaves you without some questioning about your own consciousness, your own attitudes. It's really focusing in experiments. It's a lot of theory, but always on practice. As this theatris, right? The theory and practice analogies, this theatris approach. And particularly what I thought it was very useful. Well, I am in Foz do Iguaçu, in my house with 2 kids, my wife, and in an intense environment of being together and only with us. And it's very, very interesting for self-experiment, for self-research with yourself and with closest people in our lives. And in holosomaticity, there is a test of your holosomatic homeostasis. And that for me was very useful. Not only in the moment I read, but I think useful for being reading. It is the experiment 93 in the page 157. And now the part with projectiology. I think projectiology, self-researchology and self-lucidity all the time with tests. And well, I think we can go on and on in the book, but this condition in being in the world with your psychosoma, not with your soma, the exteriorization of sensitivity can be a way to be again in many places with many people, and also to assist others. So those are the first considerations I'd like to say. And after, I'd like to invite you for some reflections that we find in the book. Thank you. Sorry for arriving late.
And Gustavo, you mentioned something that I was discussing yesterday with my wife. It's regarding some of the utilities of the lucid projection in this time of crisis. Because if you're thinking about some people that today we are kind of grounded at our homes and self-isolation, self-quarantine, and my wife, it was just talking about, okay, I need to meet, I would like to meet with my mother. Okay, it's been some time before I met with her, and definitely been like 2 years from being from Brazil. I look to her and say, hey, just make a projection, go there. She's going to think that she's just having a dream, but you know, you're going to be aware about, okay, what you're really doing and what kind of contact you have with her. And this is some of the points, like it's the useful, and that's my sense. You have typically a higher amount of projections when you're doing really a useful application for the projection techniques. Okay, it's not for the sake of projecting yourself, but it's really what kind of assistance you're giving it, what kind of helping you're giving to others, or what kind of learning you are having from it. And then that's something that we always need to remember. When you have a purpose, okay, the things are easier to go through. And the same with this global crisis that we have here. Each one needs to have a purpose. And then you start to make a link between, okay, lucid projection and your Proexis too. So just some thoughts for the group.
Right. Well, Marcelo, I'm in a similar situation. My mother was supposed to come, and we had to cancel her ticket, and she's alone, and that's the way it's going to keep probably more than 1 month. And I read something very interesting in the page 151 about the exteriorization of sensitivity and the way you can also manage the affectivity, to exteriorize energy, to keep present, to keep assisting and in some way more present, feel the person. Once I used that, my father was traveling, and I just had a class on projectiology, and we didn't have the contact of him. We couldn't contact him, and I wanted to know if he was okay, and I went to my room and tried to concentrate on him and exteriorize energies for him to feel the way he was, and everything was okay. I was really sure everything was okay. She was just arriving later in that, some hours later in that trip, but I could really have a conviction that he was there, and I could exteriorize my sensitivity. And I think this is another potential instrument and technique we can use in this moment.
And also, perhaps just not our sensitivity, but you know, I was traveling last week, and in the airport, so I had to spend some time, and I had a signal and presence of some extraphysical consciousness seemed to be a helper, but they were saying you need to be exteriorizing energies was the idea that came, and I was like, okay, you know, and so having some awareness and trying to contribute to the environments, because there's a lot of panicked people, there's a lot of really people in a lot of very altered states and in different states of mind than normal. Like you go to the supermarket and even though I'm doing this 14 days of self-isolation, I can't, they're not delivering food, so I had to go and get food. So I went very early in the morning to the supermarket, and you know, like 20% of the shelves are empty of food, and people are exaggerating and doing stuff they don't need to do, you know, like walking around the streets early in the morning. There was, most people were carrying toilet paper, and everyone's sort of panicking about all sorts of things that just aren't necessary. And so, you know, using the sensitivity that Gustavo was mentioning, just to try to alleviate or ease and put some different thocenes and different energies and patterns of energies into the environments is a really practical, it's an anonymous thing, right? But it's a really practical and helpful thing we can think about.
Absolutely. I was thinking about there's so much anxiety in the Holothocene, right? Of everywhere is inside the house. Some people, I know a couple, one of them is sick, it's going through a treatment. So it's in a high risk zone because of his immune system. So the wife is extremely anxious. about, you know, anything happening or him getting contaminated, because if a healthy person, one of us gets contaminated, if you're healthy, it's one thing. And then I was thinking, yeah, there's a lot of fear, right? A lot of fear of not having food, losing your job, not having money to buy food. Even if you have money, you might not have the food to buy that you want, and having to eat other things, or not being able to see someone that you might need. So if you have to go to travel, well, you might not be able to. And that is something that I don't remember us living through this. You were not able to catch a flight. Well, maybe some things are happening, but not to this extent. So I wonder, Marcelo, how was your wife's response to the projection? Because we were talking about that earlier, and being able to relax and project. And we were talking earlier, and yes, I talked to someone yesterday about how do we maintain our homeostasis so we can take advantage of this time. Because I think for the most part, all of us are having extra time, right? It's either if we're gonna do spring cleaning early, or if we're gonna do something that needs to be done, we're gonna read, or we are having more time. But the emotional state that we are in, and I quote Waldo, the dysoma is inevitable. On chapter 1 of HOLOSOMATICITY, he talked about it. He just said that in one of the phrases. I was like, yeah, it is inevitable. We know that. And I actually do, but how do we deal with that? It's another issue. I have a friend who is actually in a hospital in North Carolina, and the hospitals and things, I cannot go there. My mother actually for the last 2.5 weeks is also in a hospital, and even I can go there. How do we, and they both can dysoma at any time. And how do we deal with that? Even though, so when it's time to practice everything that we know and maintain some sort of some balance, and how do we deal with that? And I think that is a good question, because it makes us think about the reality more, closer to us. It's happening now, and we can take advantage of it, like you guys said, or not. Or how do we balance that? I think that's why I'm asking you, Marcel, about your wife's response. And for me, to be honest with you, I have been talking to my mother, just to say something in a more personal level. Since she went to the hospital, I have been talking to her in the morning and in the evening, and kind of doing all my just talking, chatting with her, until she went to the intensive care unit, that then I cannot talk to her. And I cannot say that I did not have any anxiety and any desire to be there with her, even though I know I can project, I can send energy and all of that. And I did talk to her about very deep things before, even about the next life. I was not expecting her to go to the intensive unit care, but she did go. But she's getting better now, but that is still the condition, it's severe. And how do we deal with that? I was like, I would like to be there. I cannot be there. So it's kind of an interesting situation to live in, and to have to deal with in a positive way, because if it's either now or later, I might even die before her. Right? For all I know, who knows? So it's inevitable, right? It's redundant, we know that, but it's kind of interesting to think about it.
Yeah, and you touched something very interesting, because her level of anxiety that's really high. Okay, and I think that's natural. I think that
Yeah,
everybody have some
of
level of
course.
stress or anxiety going on. Some people are handling a little bit better, others not
Yes.
so good. And one thing that
Ab-
deeply I tell her is, okay, you got contact of Conscientiology, you're studying it. The fact that you're just studying it like now is just means that we are trying to be in a road of evolution, okay, getting better and better, working on the self-evolution. Doesn't mean that you are there. Okay, so we are going through the different uh, roadblocks, and we are going to need to work on weak traits and so on. And doesn't mean that, okay, even if I have full control of lucid projection, okay, what's the purpose of it? Okay, what's the good usage that we're going to do on it? And then there is another thing, that even if everything is okay with you, okay, as you get a more sense of universalism. I remember one of the projections that Dr. Waldo Vieira reported, that he was talked about the Serenissimus Monja, and he was mentioned that I could feel all the pain and the suffering that she was having for the humanity. Okay, even if you start to hovering about ourselves, depending on our level of empathy, we are going to still have some level of suffering or some feeling for the other people. And then that at the end, that's one of the purpose that we work the self-projection, the lucid projection, is that, okay, what's the reason for it? That's for assistance, to help the people. Okay, it's ourselves doing the evolution, so we can help other people to evolve also, and to going through the evolution. And then it's a kind of, that's a game of interdependence that we want our group and polykarma to get into.
Yeah,
And,
I want to,
Yes.
go ahead, Magali.
no, I was thinking of what you were talking about, and also Jeffrey thought something about holotocene and assistance, no? Because people starts to be in a holotocene of catastrophism and bad things, and that's it. Because us, at least we are, let's say, we have these techniques to isolate ourselves and to be well, because we face ourselves, we have studied about it, but many people, they can, they don't have this ability, this technique. And I think something is happening in the world. It's obvious that it's happening, because that virus will change the world. In many ways. I was thinking about how it is gonna bring us the opportunity of assistance, deal with our own problems, but also open a way to assist others, energetically, with our holotocene, as Jeffrey said, with projection, as Marcelo said. We have lots of tools now to help. We always says, oh, let's help in assistance. So that's our opportunity. It's a lot of opportunity here. And also, as Simone was saying about the crisis, we are living a crisis, and that is not all bad. It's good. The crisis is good. So what I thought is the crisis, because this we read that this generation has a lot of comfort, has a lot of opportunities, and don't give much attention of it because it's so natural. And now they are seeing what? They are seeing their loved ones dying. They are seeing that they are not being so careful because they don't give a damn about what is happening sometimes. Oh no, this virus is not so important. I don't know if you saw, but I saw a video from Italy after all that starts to happen. And they were like, I was like not giving a damn about it because I thought, what is gonna happen? It's not so important. So I didn't take care and now I'm suffering. So I think people is gonna change the holotocene of the earth, you know, in some ways. And in some ways, I think also the earth, because I have some experience, astrophysical experience that I cannot say that is clear enough, but my conclusion is that the earth now has attention of even extraterrestrial, other dimensions, people that want to help, because it's an opportunity for the earth to grow. And so the globalization here, we are gonna change. We all know, but we don't know how we are gonna change. So I was thinking our participation as intermissivists in that change. That is my thoughts about all these things.
Very good. I thought there is a video, I don't know if you guys seen it, about that it's in Italian. Actually, I can send to you guys later, but it says exactly that, stop. So we are being forced to stop and think, right? And look globally. So we are forced. Now there's no excuse. There's no movies, no restaurants, no theater, no shows, no games, no even jobs. For a lot of us, we have to stay home and work from home, or we're on vacation. So we are forced to stop. Gustavo, I think you opened your microphone.
No, yes. Just to complement, you finished?
Yeah.
Yes. In page 152, he says, Hobexis as antipoda of cosmo consciousness. And I think we're living an opportunity to be aware, attentive on what we are doing, connected with people as an opportunity that we didn't have. Magali told that the crisis is good. Crisis can be good, and we can use this as a very useful evolutionary tool, I'm sure. In addition on what Jeffrey was telling us, I would like to offer you an hypothesis that, for example, we're seeing that in some areas the planet is being cleaned. Veneza channels. There was launched some images from satellites on China, the atmosphere of China, and it's much more clean and less polluted than ever. And I wonder if we could do this with our energetic environments and with our minds. We are in a moment that it's a very well known about the useful of mindful meditations and so on. And I wonder if we could live this crisis with a planet, not only a planet cleaner, but also energetically, ourselves energetically cleaner and much more aware. I think with this velocity we conduct our lives, use it everyday life, the number of distractions out of our priorities and the number of activities that we do, the trend to Hobexis is very present in our daily lives. And now is an opportunity for us to say what is important, what is really important, and facing all those difficulties. I try to find the chapter I was paying attention about being prepared to in the test on optimizations of the lucid projections test number 124. This is for us to be test of your optimizations in CPs, and it lists 25 optimization postures that add a projector's development. And in the second one, it says always be prepared to face any time of surprise. We are going to face difficulties, I'm sure, with or with family or in our own contests, and the serenity, the rationality, the self-research overture that we have for all those challenges, I think will teach us a lot, and can for sure be very useful.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And on
I would
just on
like
that
to-
list,
Okay.
sorry, I wanted to add number 13 on that list that Gustavo was just quoting. There's a line that says, have an open mentality, open mind to the most advanced renovations and neophilia is in the thing. And perhaps all of this, this time to think and reflect and to have things imposed on you, like, you know, isolation, having a more quiet time, gives us a chance to stop just the running and the sort of the manic existence we've had on this planet for a long time, you know, chasing after money primarily, and start to contemplate other things. But then you know, what are you going to contemplate? Some people, you know, just get bored and don't do anything with that. They get frustrated. They let the frustration build. But we need to take that posture of try to find our own solutions, you know, and that's the challenge, I suppose, for everyone, isn't it, to find the positive things from all of this.
I would like to contribute. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Who is this?
Hi, Ana Paula.
Hi, Ana Paula.
Hello, Michiko. Hello, Simone. How are you?
Hey, Ana.
Long time no see you guys.
Long time no see, indeed.
Yeah. So I would like to add what you guys are talking about, because it is. I was listening a video, which I totally agree with what he's talking about, Leonardo Carnal, and he's talking about emotional.
Oh, he's awesome.
Balance, you know. And one point he was talking about, he has, because he's now at home, and he has more time to read that he hasn't had for a long time. So and I think what we are seeing, it's a shift in our mindset, I suppose, if we take advantage of it, in an opportunity to review our values, to review what is actually very important for us, and I can see it's a time to recycling our own priorities, to review our priorities and put in practice so many concepts that we have learned through Conscientiology, and apply now in this time of isolation, a relative isolation, because it's not. Now we know energetically it has an interesting disturbance, and a great opportunity for us to assist the consciousness and so on. So I think has a lot to do with the stopping our existential robotization and face what it is that we need to review and change in order to do better after this pass, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Regina wants to.
Yeah, I only was thinking about two things that we are confronting at this time. First of all, we we perceive, we notice that we don't have control about things, because we are living our lives, but we can manage other things that intraphysical life, and we can we think that we have the control of the things. Okay, I can plan my day and so on, but we are really feeling at this time that we don't have control, and this is a thing that we are not get used to.
We're not used to, yeah.
We are not. And we see that the situation is global. It's not more only in China. At the beginning of this year, we are planning our year, our schedules, not thinking, okay, this is a problem that are happening only in China, but now we see that all of us are involved on this, and we don't have control. We don't know when it will be better and in which way. Although we are, of course, optimists, and we think, I think as you, that we have a lot of things to learn in this situation, and we can do the things to be better, to learn something really, really good in this situation. And the other point, I think we are confronting with death, really. I don't know. I think in our group here, we don't have anyone that that died with coronavirus. But this is a thing that in our deep sensation, we are confronting with this, and this is a thing that we still have fear of. And in this way, I think, as all of us told, it's a moment to really put our knowledge, psychology knowledge, in practice. To think exactly how I really understand about Conscientiology, how I am putting this in my practice every day, in all the things that I do. And as Jeffrey told, I think it's a moment that we can help with our energy. I noticed, for example, that 2 months ago, since 2 months ago, in my painter, for example, the helpers are demanding more energy from me, from myself to help the others. So I think this is a moment that we can also think about as Gustavo told, about our homeostasis, holosomatic homeostasis. How we really, in a psychosoma, because it's a thing that mobilizes very our psychosoma, how we are really in equilibrium with our
Regina, something that
our emotions. Yeah.
And something like just a pause, then you can. It's just that I was thinking as you were saying, and I was like, is the survival of the fittest? So then we have to think also, how fit am I, holosomatically speaking, right? Physically first, because if we have not been taking care of our bodies, so we are more vulnerable, right? The people that I mentioned, they don't have coronavirus, but there is a lot of things that you can think of, other things that the person, that you have, illnesses that the person might have. But in our case, it's like, how fit am I? Somatically, energetically, psychosomatic, and mentally. But for real, because some people are less afraid of, because they know they have a very good immune system. I have seen people like that. I feel like that. It doesn't mean that I'm not then not going to take care, right? I am, of course, but I'm saying that I think it is a survival of the fittest. Again, you know, evolution playing a role. So if you are more fit, you're going to survive, because the more anxious you are, the more vulnerable you're going to be, more likely you are to get that and not survive. Let's put this way, right? Bluntly.
Yeah, but it's also something about how you think about the others too, because you can be healthy and contaminate other people. So now I think it's a challenge also to see how much.
What do you mean by
people think about others? Because if I
what do you mean? I didn't understand, Magali. So just so I can understand, what do you mean by you can be healthy and contaminate other people?
Because the virus can be in your system, you can get it, and in your body, and not be contaminated, but you can contaminate the old people, and you know, people that has no good immune system.
Yeah, you might not be aware.
It's all about thinking globally, and I think that is a challenge for us. In this planet, it's a challenge about think about others, and also have more
altruistic. Now you do for you and for others, right? The self-isolation is one of them.
It's time to think about others, because there is people now that doesn't have job anymore. People that work one day to the other to pay the same day or the other day, you know? And so how we are gonna think now globally, because those people is gonna suffer.
I'd like to make a point here.
I would like to.
Yes,
I'd like to say something.
Yes, exactly, because I'd like to check with everyone here in terms of para-perception, because I'm an English teacher, and I teach online. So of course I'm here in front of the computer most of my day, you know, but I'm healthy. It's exactly talking about that. I'm okay, but suddenly I notice that we are kind of lucid baits in relation to what is happening, you know, around. I'm in Portugal, okay, at the moment. I'm not in Brazil. And I'd like to check with you if this perception that I'm having is something that you guys are having, you know, because I'm here, I'm okay, I'm working, and suddenly I feel lots of feelings. I don't know if it's because of your backs, if it's because of exactly this moment that we are living, but suddenly, you know, the sensations of the disease disappear. And sometimes it comes, you know, it's the respiratory problem, it's the lungs, it's a certain burden, but then suddenly it goes, you know, and I'm, of course, trying to mobilize the energies and trying to do that. But I'd like to check with you guys if you are having this kind of thing. Because the perception that I had is exactly that we are, of course, we are these instruments, and especially with our parapsychism, and to check, you know, what's happening around us at the moment, you know, in terms of using our parapsychism and using our holotothinity, and at the same time using our of course, the not only toxins, but also holochakra, to see if it's happening. It's just a question that I'd like to check with you. Thank you.
I'm in Brazil right now, and usually I attend people, usually elderly people, or medium age people. And because of this shift in quality of work and so on, and we can't having contact with everybody, I had to start to do this online. And when Simone was talking about our immune system, I started to think that our immune system, yes, is quite important. You eat well, you are fit, you're not exposing yourself to environments that can damage that. But I start to think about the immune system, our immune energetical system, because what I observe, it is exactly what you were saying. even though I am distant from the other person, when you are in contact with the other person, the holotosene of the person impacts my holotosene, my environment, and everything. And if someone is quite anxious, if someone is actually dwelling with the possibility of dying, which Regina pointed out really well, people are concerned that they're not going to have food, they're not going to have a job, their future, this level of uncertainty is definitely alter our energetic system. And this will impact directly, obviously, in our physical health, immune system, and also in our energetic system. And sometimes what I think is, if I'm not really lucid, I can actually assimilate that fear and actually reproduce in myself all the symptoms or the sensations or the pattern, non-tocenic pattern. So what I started to do is I'm actually not watching television whatsoever, despite that I live with someone who watches 24/7. But I'm not interested in watching television. I'm getting the news and the technical news about coronavirus, what's happening, how can I prevent myself to get that. And this, it's actually preserve my holotosene, my environment, and Penta. It's actually when I'm doing Penta, I actually connect with that as well. So it's a quite, if you do Penta, it's a quite interesting. We use as a research in that moment as well to see which pattern, holotosenic pattern, the consciousness, astrophysical consciousness that comes through, and help us actually to improve our self-defense, energetic self-defense.
Okay, then we have people writing on the chat. You can jump in, guys. The ones who have not said anything, we would like to hear your voices if you'd like to. So,
Simone,
yes.
very briefly, I only would like to, someone told about philosopher Pondé and the opportunity we are also living. And in the page 164, it is the chapter 100, Theories of the Research of Projectives Cases. And it mentions in italics, no evolutionary achievement of a consciousness is born, sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
My son was just wake up. He just wake up and came here in the office. Sorry. He says, no evolutionary achievement of a consciousness is born from improvisation. And I think it's keen for us to consider what are we going to develop in those days, because we can really leave this stage and also this opportunity with some gains in our good habits, in our consciousness achievements in these lives. It's the only observation I would like to not only pass the time, not only create opportunities for those days to pass, but also to achieve some important evolutionary tool and for self-research. That's it.
Okay. What do you guys think? It's a very good point. So we have a forced growing crisis that we can find a specific point or achievement to work on. That's a really great one.
Yeah, Simone, the reflection I would like to propose is that we can decide what are we going to achieve those days. Not
That's
only let it happen and see what's going on, but also create an objective, create some method, some everyday effort. Not a big thing, but for example, even to read a book with this size, it means we are doing something every day, day by day, to arrive in the end and to make all the reflections we can do with these two. That's it.
Yeah. Would you like to give, do you have an example? Anybody has an example of that? That's what I meant, that, you know, the global crisis is not something that we produced. We contributed perhaps to the insanity of this planet, but we can, you know, pick something that, what would we like to achieve with this, right? Overcome a weak trait. I'm going to study this, or I'm going to do, you know, finish up some things that I would like to finish. Or I'm going to write a book. Or I'm going to do whatever I want to do, but to have a strategy, a daily strategy. I guess that's what Gustavo wants. It is important to think about ourselves and what is it for me? If we don't want to say it, that's fine, but we can think about it. And would like to elaborate on that, or anything else that you'd like to say. I just want to hear some of your voices that we have not heard yet.
Morning for all of us. I'm Virginia.
Hello.
Hello. What I was thinking about how my HOLOSOMATICITY can impact to others. How can
Very good.
I was thinking about how can my peaceful thoughts, or how can I give others peace, tranquility, because all people are very anxious, worried about all the things that are happening. So how can we impact in a positive way to the others in your, for example, in your city, in your neighborhood, with the people that you are in contact, not physically, but they are next to you, and with the consciousness. I think that's our point, or our motivation, on something that we can develop for others. I think, of course, we can continue writing books or doing things that we can, I think we can develop our yes-cons, but I think it's the time to help others with our energies.
I think it's a really good point, because I think, and that's what I mentioned before when I was talking about being fit. I don't mean physically fit, I mean holosomatically fit. And I think this goes with what you're saying, Virginia, that, you know, if we are mentally more stable, we won't get irritated. We are not going to get anxious too much. It might come a little bit, but we can work on that in a peaceful way. And then the energies will be more balanced, the emotions are more balanced, the energies are more balanced, the body is more balanced. So what we brought up that Gustavo mentioned at the beginning about the homeostasis of our holosoma, I think that is what it's a huge contribution. If we manage this in this time to be more steady, more homeostatic, more fit in a way, then this is a huge contribution, because at least we're not going to be adding up. And someone wrote there that now this is an opportunity for us to practice everything that we know. Huge opportunity, no doubt about it. And if we are more homeostatic, more fit holosomatically, it's a huge contribution to ourselves and to everybody around us, right? To our neighbors too, to the ones that we are living together with, and the neighbors, the city, the country, the continent, the planet. So I personally think that this is a huge contribution. It's the core of our manifestation, right? It's our Thocenes. It's our Holothocene. So,
Simone, I'd like to also to use this opportunity that Virginia is talking as Apex, that studies the project of life. And in the test 99, the title is Phenomena from the Projectiology Thanatology Relation. The last phrase says, a simple healthcare visit to someone dying may constitute a mini Proexis. And I think it makes you think a lot about the opportunities, and Virginia, about to think about this a mini Proexis in a healthcare visit. We can do it projected. We can do it with our energies. And we also can produce some reconciliation from this crisis we're all living in. So it's for me, it makes me think a lot that if a healthcare visit can constitute a mini Proexis, I wonder how many specific opportunities we have to make different in our lives, and in the life of others, with specific attitudes. Thanks.
Exactly.
It's really interesting. Hi, can you hear me? Hi. It's really interesting to me that I'm not afraid of death. During this whole thing, I haven't been afraid of death once, or the death of people that I love. It's inevitable from the moment we're born. But it has made me really aware of how many decisions I've made based on financial gain and based on that financial safety. And I think that's going on for a lot of people at the moment when they're hoarding groceries and that type of thing. That we're sort of reevaluating our lives and thinking about the decisions that we can make to improve our lives in tiny little ways.
I would like to contribute with my one insight to what happened during this meeting. Basically on this crisis around the world, I was thinking the deaf people, the people that pass away. So I think we are contributing for this transition. And I think it's so important in our meeting. Somehow we are helping those people and their families. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a message that Tony had sent as well to our group. He was mentioning that he was wondering that the bridge alongside others with online conscientiological programs have more than ever the great responsibility to keep the clarification task working worldwide. We should think about how we can promote the next debates in order to attract and engage more people. Many volunteers, teachers, researchers, and students are isolated now. The bridge can connect them in an international level. So that's another thing I think in addition to contributing individually, we here as a group can also think about contributing as a group and continuing the clarification task. We have this online forum, we have the bridge, we have the bridge writers, we have the bridge culture. So we have all of these forums that we can leverage off of to connect and to keep the clarification task going as a group. So I think that's another way that we can contribute.
I agree, Michiko, and I can add something here that it's not only the bridge, but all the initiatives for this, group approach. So here in Europe, for example, there are the Europex study group, and then we at HOLOSOMATICITY and also Apex, and also even the symposium or the meeting at the end, the existential balance in October in Germany. So we have lots of actions, I believe, that we have to take and be more prepared in order to spread through lectures, through courses online, and I think this is it. I think this technology can help us a lot and approach us, you know, like virtually speaking, but approach more. Like, of course, besides the fact of the interaction with energies that we can have, but also this resource is very valuable to approach people at this time.
I agree, and I think there are lots of examples of that. There are many universities that are giving to putting the platform available for people to learn different courses, free, totally free, and also museums, visiting known sites where you can visit the museums, and lots of initiatives that we should or we could follow and create that network now through the internet. I agree with Tony. I think it's a very interesting time to connect with people. And what caught my attention that many of those courses, they are free. And so it's accessible to anyone in any part of the planet who wants to study and improve something or some knowledge that they need.
And now there's no more excuse, no? Because most of us are home and we have to be home, or we want to be home, and we have the time. We are forced to stop. And now we have the time perhaps to do that.
I agree with Tony when he said that working in a group makes the difference. So if we are connected online or talking about that, it's like we are creating a small intraphysical team, and then can reflect or impact in the extraphysical team. So we can contribute in the work in the extraphysical dimension. So I think it's very important. We can connect to a extraphysical team. Everyone connect. Or for example, here we are in ISIC, that we are a team. So we can work together in some demands that we are here right now. So it's a kind, or is the reurbanization in practice. So it's not something theoretical, it's very practical. So I think we need to recover lucidity that what we are doing in the extraphysical, if we are doing something to help others, what are the repercussions? Of course, you need to have self-defense, but you need to donate all the energies, because in some way I think I feel, or I'm responsible for all the things in this planet. So I want to donate as much as I can to this when there's a problem like that, with the coronavirus.
And as Tony said, clarification task at the moment, it's very important. I think it makes a big difference when we really understand and put in practice our knowledge in this consciential paradigm in this moment.
I like the idea very much of meetings, more meetings like this, maybe every week or something like this, that we have really a group who talks about the virus and what we can do. I like it very much, the idea. And to Flavia, I want to say that my energies are also sometimes very different, sometimes more fear, sometimes very, very calm. So we work with our family, my husband and my son, all the time, every day, 2 times with energies, and we are not able to do the vibrational state. Instead of this, we are humming, and this is also quite good. We are sitting on a chair and making like very long time, maybe 10 minutes, and then the whole body is vibrating, and I think after that we all feel better. So this is my my contribution.
I think Melanie here, I think it would also be really nice to kind of talk about it within the conscientiological context, because of course the news media is flooding with both fear but also facts, but then I have been really trying to find sense in this from a conscientiological perspective, and have been thinking about maybe it was the helpers, but the one thing that always comes to my mind when I see the news is paraurbanization, because it's the consequences of the virus. It's not the virus, it's not the dying, it's the consequences that are so unique that I have not seen before on the planet, which is public spaces are empty. They can be cleaned extra physically. Places are physically sanitized and cleaned much more. People are cleaning in their homes now much more. There's this cleaning process going on, the sanitation process inside our homes, but also in public places. Nightclubs are closed. Other kind of places with difficult energies, they're closed now. They can be cleaned, like energetically, but also physically. So I really have been wondering the last week if this idea, if this is connected somehow, what other conscientiologists think about this theory. Because honestly, I have been dealing with anxiety issues since around 3 years. This situation right now is not helping me at all. Like, it's making it much worse. However, if I think about the perspective that this is a process, this is part of the process of reurbanization, it really helped me to think about it like that. Like, it really made me calmer, because it gave me like okay, there's a sense in this. This is not just random chaos that's happening. There's actually a sense and a purpose for improvement in all of this situation right now. So if we could kind of like, if we could have meetings where we kind of like try to find, or where we kind of reflect on the consequences of the coronavirus and the consequences for the whole planet within the consciential paradigm, I think that like it would be really helpful, because sometimes if you see this chaos and if you're alone and isolated and your family is in another country and you can't reach there because all the airports are closed, your emotions get chaotic, your energies drop, because it's like you really have to be a Serenissimus to not react to this right now. So if we could somehow organize something like this, this will be really important, because I'm being very honest with you guys. I've been feeling very isolated and very like, maybe not helpless, but it's like you don't know what to do with yourself. Should you go help your friends who have a cafe, who have to close and maybe lose all of their life's work? Do you go out, help them? Do you stay home? Are you being egoistic when you're staying home? Are you meeting the people that really are important to you and you need their support, but you can't see them? It's all this like conflict going on in your head, all this like back and forth. Oh, this is not so bad. Oh my God, this is horrible. So I think it would be really interesting to talk about this from a perspective of conscientiology.
It's interesting the perspective you bring, because it's an event of unprecedented event that we are having. And for me, what catches my attention, it is that the whole point, it is a little virus. It made us turn into our homes, diminish every type of distraction. Where we go out, we drink, not that people are drinking less, but all the distraction that the intraphysical life brings to people to kind of run away from themselves, from ourselves. So we, or some people think, family, it's everything for me. So now it's opportunity to think, it is true, it is really important, because people are now kind of locked at home with other people and with themselves, with ourselves, no? And I think it's a great opportunity to talk about conscientiology, but bringing the things to ourselves. What are the things that each of us, not only in terms of community, but myself, how can I help this situation better? If I improve myself, I can help better. Not necessarily that we go home and we say, whoa, I don't care about our community. Obviously, every action we have impacts our community. It's inevitable. But it's a time that the picture I can see is when you are at the airplane and they say, put the mask, oxygen mask, in case of emergency, put the oxygen mask in yourself first, and then in another person. And so the way I see this moment, it's like this. It's like a moment that, okay, we are enclosed, we are with ourselves, inevitably, the level of distraction is diminished, the planet is cleaned out, no, as Gustavo pointed out earlier. So China, less pollution, less people. The Venice, it's the water clean because there are no tourists. Lots of things are changing in our environment. So, and how can we take this as an opportunity to clean ourselves? No, so that's, I think it's, and the isolation, because we live in other countries and so on. Probably it's going to happen. And I have been talking with people that are isolated, because I talk with people who are in the high level of group of risk, which are the aging population. So, and lots of things go through people's mind. So we have in our hands understanding energy challenge, because not only our thoughts impact this holocene, but the thoughts of hundreds, thousands of people that are enclosed their home and starting to come up with their fears that maybe because we are running around, we don't think about. But once we are enclosed and we needed to have the time for ourselves, we don't know what to do. So it's a quite interesting thing that I think when we talk about the contents of conscientiology, we can refer to our micro universe and the opportunity that the crisis give us to actually review ourselves, work more caring with ourselves, nurture our intra-consciential mind or our intraconsciential reality, in order for us to strengthen and to be able to not get so intoxicated with all the energy that comes for thousands of people. It's the uncertainty as well.
I think it's really good. What do you guys, do you wanna, I just wanna make a quick comment to Gustavo, if I may, is that I watched the WHO conference. They're gonna have another one, I think they didn't have on the World Health Organization. They had a conference last week and they're gonna have, I think they had another one yesterday, they're gonna have next Friday. And they talk a lot about solidarity. And it's really interesting. So it's on their webpage and they talk a lot about that. And at the same time, that it's a great opportunity for us to go deep into clarification task. It's also a balance that we're going to have to face. And when do I do consolation here? When am I going to buy something for someone that I know that the person needs? Or my neighbor doesn't have A or B, and how I'm going to help that person? And as an older person and it can go in the supermarket, am I going to shop for that person? Why not? In Barcelona, they are doing a lot of that. They volunteer to help the ones who cannot, that should not go, and the ones who are more fit again, can do that. I know my sister lives in Barcelona, and they have a list in her building that she put her name, she volunteered for the ones that need, they just call the volunteers and they go and shop for them. So I think it's an opportunity for both, that it will change and touch our core, really the core of who we are and how we're gonna address all of this, and how we're gonna, when we're gonna play different roles, right? Having this balance and this ability to play different roles when I give some of my food to someone because I can buy the next week. I don't have to have at home for 1 month. If I know someone that doesn't have it to eat tomorrow. And to have that balance, I think this is an opportunity for assistance in general at different levels, to ourselves first, to others, to the neighbors, to the world. I think this is something that if we have this vision, at least I was reflecting when I saw the conference, because again, it's people from all over the world. It's not about the US, it's not about Africa, it's not about Brazil, right? It's about, or any of the, it's about the entire world. And I think this can be a good opportunity for, definitely for solidarity and for assistance in general, consolation, clarification, and
Simone, one thing that I think it was perfect what you have talked. I think it's very important to know what is our role. For me, what is the role in this situation? What can I do? For example, yesterday I opened my door of my house, and a neighbor appears and told me, I have no work right now, I have no money. So in that moment I opened the door, this woman appears and told me her worries. And it is not easy to find her. And she lives next to my door. So we need to be to pay attention to the demands that we have in our neighborhood. And what is the role? What can I do? Maybe only donate energies. Maybe I am a doctor, so I need to be in the hospital. Never mind. You need to think what is your role and what can you do. And another thing very important is that we need Yes.
Virginia, just quickly, just mention something that you said. Yeah, someone knocks at your door and say, I don't have any money, I'm hungry. Or I don't have a job, meaning I don't have money, probably. And what are we going to do? Am I going to give the person food? Of course, I would. We can't do, we have to know when to do what, like exactly what we said before. And I think many of us, we are on the thinking about that, but when is the time to do consolation? When is the time to clarification? This is a subject that we have talked forever. And it's not that one doesn't serve the other, both can serve, right? It just knowing having the ability to be able to do what you think is the right thing to do at that moment. And does the person needs food, or the person needs a book now? Or it's that kind of balance that I think now, and like you gave a good example. I haven't had that happen yet, but someone might knock at our doors at any time. But go ahead, Virginia.
Simone, sorry, Virginia, but Simone, I think to think about this, it's actually what will be defined as what's the need that the other person has. We have equipment with ourselves, so someone is needing food, so you have a food with you give. If someone needs a clarification task, you give. So what's going to define is the necessity of the other person. Like Virginia said, someone knock your door, symbolic symbolically, someone cross paths with you and ask something. So what will define what I can give? It's the necessity that that person has in that moment. No?
Absolutely.
And being open for that is the most important thing in a time like this. No, I've heard some people are doing a package, little boys, 17 years old, they are little packets with food and my hygienic material, and they are distributing in the house of elderly people. So those are small initiatives that we can do, attending the people's necessity.
But Anna, it's sometimes what the person needs is not necessarily what they receive. The helpers are really good at this. Sometimes you can ask for A and you get B, but also it's the necessity, but the ability that we have to identify that, because the person might say, I need this, but the person know, you know what, I'm gonna do this here because I think this is the best assistance that I can give. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so we all know this, and we probably have already felt from doing the right thing at some point in our lives. It's just a common thing that sometimes. So that kind of thing is, yes, the necessity with our ability. So I think it's both things working together with having our discernment at a good level and being able to do that without, for the good of everybody, involved in that situation, right?
Yes, it's the both things. No, someone is communicate some need, and then we can listen that need, and not necessarily in discern, which has, in terms of assistance, in my opinion, it's a challenge, no, for us to do, because it's an ability to just shut down our own preconceptions, our own assumptions, and hear what's coming up, no? And attend if we can, or sometimes we don't have the instruments, and pass on to someone else that can help better that person. I don't have the instruments to help this person, so I will pass on, no?
Yeah.
And so having that
each case is one
ability,
case, right?
Exactly, yes, exactly.
We have to go each case by case basis. Yeah. I think Gustavo would like to say something, and we are
very, very short. Thanks. First, I think that solitude is not going to be easy, to be threatened. Someone talked about that, and I would like to emphasize a part of the text we should discuss, that is about multidimensionality. And in the test 151, the test of your multidimensional sincerity, the topic number 2 is solitude. So I would recommend us to look to this again. I think we can also be more aware in terms of lucidity in our relation with multidimensionality, with astrophysically. This is something that could be very useful, and also in terms of solitude. And the other thing is that probably we've got to, I understand the opportunity Virginia had yesterday when someone knocks her door, but also we've got to be aware that maybe someone is suffering and is not going to knock any other's door. And probably we've got to be attentive to be able to make this search by ourselves. I teach in university, and I'm always concerned about those people that goes on depression during the semester, and we just don't feel them to be able to search and to assist. And so I think this is to help them. So this is an opportunity, I think, for us to also to develop new sensibilities. for us to put ourselves in the chairs of helpers also. And the last things I'd like to also invite you, next Tuesday, 24th March, I'm going to present in Tertuliarium on Nations Holocarm, a new entrance. So thanks. I think this is my last consideration. So you are invited next Tuesday, 24th, Nations Holocarm. Thanks.
Thanks. So I just want to say one quick thing based on what he said, that I think Melissa mentioned about some stress, excess stress, being in doubt, and what he said about the person being depressed in these times. I think we, as a suggestion, is to reach out without any fear and talk to someone. I think that's my best suggestion. And you know, reach out, talk to people, and I think we can provide that too, right? You know.
There is many things to talk, and this meeting was different. we already transpassed our time, so but it's good that everyone came to that meeting, and we hope with this isolation we can read more 700 and other books, because we can you know, like put ourselves in a routine at home, no, in a good health routine, you know. So I don't know, Michiko, you want to say anything else?
No, thank you everyone for coming.
Michiko, may I invite people from the next Bridge Culture? It could be next Sunday in the afternoon, 1:30, and we are going to talk about understanding the Brazilian culture with Jacqueline Cowen and me. So you are invited. We can continue the debate. So you are all invited. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Virginia.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. And if you have any, I think in the site you can see all the schedule of the bridge and all the bridge we have. And let's keep on touch in isolation, no?
Yes, and also just want to remind everyone, we can also continue our discussions online, okay, at the forum. So let's not finish our discussion here. Let's continue in the forum. Thank you, everyone.